Well, today is Tuesday, I believe. I thought, why not? Why not just get on here and see if I can't talk a little bit? They, well, I got past the 80 mark, and I'm still walking and talking, so I guess I'm okay. But I thought, what would be a good subject to talk about today, and what makes a YouTube channel successful, and is there one out there in particular that is very successful? And I thought, why not? Let's do that. Let's just look and see how channels get where they're at. What makes them really good? And I know everybody out there has their own ideas, and a lot of times you like whoever the creator of the channel is, and you like to, I would say, probably be as close to that creator as you can in beliefs. You certainly aren't going to follow them unless you feel you're thinking in the same way, moving in the same direction. And the biggest share of the people that follow a channel have never put a vid up. And sometimes I wish they all would have done at least one just to see what it's like. Some of you would really like it, and some of you would say, nah, that's too much work. But you can just go raw on it and not worry too much. And they'll tear you up a little bit if they don't like it, so that's no big deal because you can just go back to what you were doing, no vids, and just make comments. Now, one of the things, if you want a channel that's going to do something, is to make sure you get on a subject that's going to have a lot of comments. And that'll grow your channel because people make comments to the comments, and there's certain ones that they'll follow just to do that. And once you get that part started, it's like a pyramid, it just grows. On the other hand, if you make remarks about religion or politics, you're going to lose half your people right off the bat because one half kind of don't like the other. So there's certain subjects that you need to kind of stay away from if you want to be successful. On the other hand, if you just want to let everybody know how you feel about things in this world today, you just spew them out there. But my advice is stay away from party affiliations, and you can always put your beliefs out there. And if you're good, you can negotiate back and forth a little bit and exchange ideas. And you'd be surprised how much you can learn just by doing things like that. Okay, let's get back to why I decided to start this video today. Channels that are successful, what do they have in common? The right subject. That's the number one thing. Something that people want to know about. If it's a do-it-yourself channel, that's great. And what about, unless you know where I'm going to these channels that buy and sell lockers. They buy the locker and sell the contents out of it. And Storage Wars, really had a heck of a following on TV, and you've seen all that stuff going. I mean, it was kind of exciting because everybody's looking for the gold. You're going to have a gold mine next time. What about all those safes, money boxes, things like that? What kind of treasures lay in there? How many gold rings? How many diamonds you're going to find? Now, diamonds aren't as lucrative as what gold is, and silver helps, but it's not a big dollar item unless you get an awful lot of it. But just the gold dust in your eyes can make money if you get into something like that. So there are hundreds of channels out there that have followed that line. I thought, why not pick one today to talk about? So I thought, why not talk about What the Hells? And he is about as successful as you can get. I'm not saying there aren't some that have more subs, because there are some, quite a few. But he is one of the top go-getters out there. And every once in a while, I get people on here. They say, "Well, Ray, you were for him, and then you were against him, and then you were for him, now you're against him. What's going on?" Let's go back to when I first started looking at stuff. Actually, what happened was Otter Creek kind of raised its head up a little bit, and I happened to run across it. I don't know why. And it was interesting. And then I had seen some of the videos that the Hales put up, and some, I'll tell you the truth, they were pretty good. I enjoyed them. A lot of drama, and most of them play on drama. We all know that. And it's kind of fun, because we can almost, from the beginning of the show, know how it's going to go, right? The auctioneer sells, and the buyer buys, and he goes in there and discovers everything he knew about it. And then he points out why he bought it, because that's important. And it's fun, because you can join in and you can guess about it too. And you pat yourself on the back when you guess right. And it's easy to guess right, by the way. But that particular channel, when you look at how many subs it's got and how quickly it grew in the last couple of years, you may wonder how or why. Well, along with that growth, and remember, he goes back quite a few years in the industry. He didn't, he came up the hard way. Started from scratch and built a business. And along with that, he was smart about it, was able to accumulate, and with the accumulation comes safety and a way to further your business into other operations. And he's done that as well. So, in other words, he followed all the things you should do. Now, going back quite a few years, a lot of times, he did a few with other people, and picked up some good habits, found out how to make things zing. And you know, the title that you have to come up with every week, it takes a little bit of brain power. And YouTube, all the time, is wanting you to come up with these phrases that draw people in, because YouTube won't do well unless you do. And the bigger you get, the more helpful they may be for you. Now, I'm not monetized. A lot of times I've been accused of it, because for some reason, when they get mad at me out there, they say, "Well, you're just monetized, you're just doing that to get money." No, I give my opinion. And my opinion is going to change from time to time by how somebody acts or reacts. Nothing wrong with that. If you don't operate your life in the same manner, people don't just get on one train track and go till the train dies, do they? No. Sometimes when you're traveling, you have to go down a lot of different paths to get where you're going. So anyway, for all you naysayers, quit worrying about it. I don't make any money. I'm not trying to. I'm satisfied with me. And that's why I'm on here. I like me. Now, some of you accuse me of being a hater of Hales. I'm not. What I did is I judged his practices. And I've always given him a pat on the back on his business. You know, he's very good at it. You can't take that away from him. The part that I didn't like was, and some time ago I said he acted like he had a split personality. And I know that raised his hackles probably a little bit, but you know, he didn't go after my channel or anything like that. At least I'm not aware that he did. And I didn't get a lot of haters. What they did tell me was, go back there and study him. Well, unfortunately, I did just that. And what I found out was that his early videos, he reminds me a lot of Jeebus, I think it is. They seem to have a lot of the same characteristics for the surprise of finding something. And that's that's a good one to keep people interested because they're anticipating what's next. What's next? And what do you save over to your next video? What's going to be on the next one? It's important. But I also found out the most successful ones have some kind of a partner. Now with Jeebus, I think it's his wife is his partner. I think they're married. Anyway, she's very good at what she does, and I haven't followed his channel that much, but he's very enthusiastic and go, go, go. Likes to share. So, no, he's got all the characteristics it takes. And as a matter of fact, he's I think he has more subs than What the Hells, but it's kind of a race, I think, going in there. I don't know who's going to win the race. And then I thought, well, what would bring a channel a lot of things? Well, I noticed with the partnership in there, that's in there, and my understanding is, I believe that his partner is George. And what I did notice about it was, wherever she goes, people smile. And she don't just sit there and smile, she talks with them. And the most important part is, she listens to them. People want to be listened to. And she has found the secret to be successful is to listen to the people you're going to deal with. You learn a lot about the person. And if you're a salesman, you're going to be very successful just by that. Well, Jeremy has a business acumen. He's the one that got this thing going. But I really think, I mean, to me, what shines, quite frankly, is George. When I see her at different things, even now, when she goes to a meeting, she draws the biggest crowd. I also noticed that usually Jeremy will bury himself in the middle of people, but they kind of, a few stick around, but most of them go to the other crowds that are surrounding, like at the meetings, if you watch the meetings. But they all gather around George. And they smile at her all the time, not so much as much at Jeremy. Like I say, I think Jerry's more of the business end, Jeremy, and maybe the charisma of the whole thing is his partner. And I thought, you have to be pretty smart to get a partner that can draw more than you can. I got to pat him on the back. He did that excellent. That is smart. And I've seen that in businesses. One of the companies that I was with, I used to have to do walk downs and talk with the customer. And I found out when my wife would come along, we could get more information. Because they would open up to my wife rather than me. Because I was the one acting like a business person, and my wife was the cordial person that was willing to listen. And they love to talk, so that works. A pat on the back to you there, Jeremy. You got a ringer there. But then in the last couple of years, he's assembled a winning team. And they say that a good man at the top will hire people that are as good or better than he is. And in this instance, I got to say that everybody that he has hired, they all have more charisma than he does. And that is a very intelligent move, is to get these people that are better than you in a position so that they can bring customers in. So let's go over some of them. What about patience and Christian? Now, I've seen a few videos where Patience has been at the lockers, when they're buying. And almost everybody there wants to talk to her or say something, including the auctioneer. And it's in a friendly manner, nothing aggressive whatsoever. It's like the old home week. And I thought, you know what? With a team like that, that is masterful. Well, then what about Christian? Now here's a guy that apparently is a techie. And I notice he follows orders. And he's well liked. He smiles. I really think that is a team. So patience and Christian, no matter what they do, they will excel at it. And if they ever are not a part of the Hales, they'll be extremely successful because they have that kind of a grip on people. It's a magnet, if you will. That magnet is hard to get. Most people are just born with it. Some people aren't, so they have to develop other skills. So what about Willis? This is a guy out in Otter Creek. There's like a shining beacon. Wherever he goes, people are smiling. They're wanting to talk to him. They're wanting him to participate with them. Now this is a guy, he got up in a meeting, a town meeting, and said, I want to help you, and here's the things. He said, I've got this kind of experience, and I will start right away. Who can I interface with? No ifs, no ands, or anything. They knew that he meant what he said. He doesn't live in Otter Creek, but he likes the people there, and he's a hard worker. You've seen the work he does. Now, I understand some of you that get a little upset with Jeremy. Remember, this guy, him and Jeremy get along. And I think Jeremy has seen an opportunity. Here's a person that has all the traits that he don't have. Why not bring that into the fold? And I'm going to pick up that many more people. Now, thank goodness for Willis, because here he's out there developing some property, and you know, it's mainly just clearing some areas and making some fun out of something that is nothing but an old swamp down there in Florida, and trying to make something that people want to see. And it's not a big investment other than time. The key to the whole thing was Willis is a beacon of people, and he has been all his life. And if you want to have a successful business, you got to have a salesman. Willis is it. A pat on the back to you, Willis. You had me from the first day. I got to say, I love watching you. And I know you probably get mad at me because of how I have talked about Jeremy. But like I say, I judge and say what I see. And the few things that he does wrong doesn't take away from his business. As a matter of fact, it helps build it. You know, I've been around big business for a lot of years, and I've seen just about every personality out there. But this is one of the best shows that I've seen because of the people that ring it. How can you have that many people in an area? Now, supposedly, the area of Otter Creek is kind of like off in the boonies somewhere. That you know. But what I've found is there are people there that have this knack. There's a woman there that works at the schoolhouse. She's a little heavy set maybe, but she has a smile, makes you forget about everything else. You know, it's like sugar. And she does, I would say that she would be a peacekeeper under any condition. And very organized. And when I see Willis and George and this other gal, I forget her name now, I don't spend that much time watching it, but what I've seen of it is very pleasurable. But it is like a homecoming. And the stars are getting together, and they all interface together perfectly. But what gets me is they do so well, whether they're apart together, and they do it better, or at least they're more comfortable when Jeremy is somewhere else. And that's kind of how a boss has to have it. He has to be able to have, and remember, he's operating from two different places. He has to have people that can operate on their own. And not only can these people operate on their own, they're better at it than he is. The only thing he has going for him is that he got it started, his mind worked towards it, and he has never let anything get in his way. So he has got these people with extreme charisma. And I don't know if he'll ever learn how to grab some of that. But if you can buy it, you don't have to have it. You just have to be able to run the show. You are the puppeteer, and the rest of them work for you. That's success. Along with that, the responsibilities of making sure the money comes in and flows and all of that. And I don't think he has any problem with that. He knows how to get it. Matter of fact, I watched him on one of his Sunday shows do it. And it does come in. So my hat's off to that whole group. Now, you know, everybody says I hate that guy that started the whole thing, and I don't. The only thing, I just don't care for the way he operates with other people and how he attacks. It reminds me too much of over-the-top reactions, and I understand it's part of what he's accomplishing right now with the videos to supplement income. And yes, I know he said they don't make any money off of it, but when I looked at it, I took it. There's a YouTube app where you can add up things, the high and low of it. And what I'm coming up with is substantial amounts are being made. The operation itself feeds on itself because you have merchandise as well. So you have multiple business wrapped up into this thing. And it's the people that come and see it that drive the business. The people that make comments down there, good or bad, are good for it. And most of the time when I see are positive comments, which tells me that they're being scrutinized pretty close. He's had some bad incidents that he's turned the lemons into lemonade, and I'm talking about the neighbor. I'm not going to get too deep into that because I feel that that is a lost cause at this point. Most people that live and now I'm not going to talk about Jeremy, I'm talking about the other people. Most people that live like that, the way they ended up that way is because society in general has forgotten all about them. They don't have charisma. They're not liked. They have some bad habits. They don't mix well with others. They use foul language. Lots of bad habits. I'm not for that, and I know a lot of you accuse me of being on their side. I'm not on their side, but what I don't like is for people to pick on somebody that has ailments already. It's a sickness that they have. And if you don't want to help them get over it you don't have to fund them, but the things that take people like that and help them get back on the right path. And I'm talking about psychiatrists. Right now, our society puts people like that in jail. And when they come out, they repeat the offense all over again. We kick the can down the road. I shouldn't have to say more about it than that. You know my feelings on it. If they were my neighbors, I wouldn't have anything to do with them either. That just goes without saying. So don't think I'm a hypocrite because I'm not judging somebody. I'm just saying there's certain aspects that I don't particularly care for because it's not in my wheelhouse. I've had neighbors that weren't the greatest in the world, but I didn't make a big deal out of it. Obviously they knew if I didn't care for them, so they left me alone and I left them alone. Didn't mean that I didn't say hi to them once in a while when they'd come home or whatever. I mean, people that are human, they're human, that's it. If you don't want them around, you say, hey, look, adios, and stay on your own side of the fence. Now, for all of you that want to jump on me, go ahead and do it. I'm not, like I say, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm trying to give you the positives of how a well-run YouTube runs. Where you may have some weaknesses in one area, you bring in somebody to shore that up. And like I say, the people that are surrounding this guy and a smart businessman will get equals or better. And he has done that on every aspect These people, if they weren't working for him, would be extremely successful on their own. He happens to be the catalyst that brought them together and helped grow his channel and maintains it at this point. His channel is stable. He's able to make money. I mean, even though he says he's not, he's able to make money. I gotta admit, he's good. He's good. So look, at least give me a pat on the back for calling out some of his good points. If you hate me because there's certain things I don't like about him, I don't know what it is that you want to hate me for it. I'm not a person that particularly cares for a bully. And yes, I went out there and said things that aren't necessarily nice, and I try to keep from doing it too much or being repetitious at it. But I'm human. Let me make some mistakes. You know, I worked all my life to get where I'm at. And I don't want what somebody else has. I've never, ever been that way. My grandmother taught me better. When I was growing up, my grandmother gave me all kinds of things to think about and do. And she was the best teacher I ever had, better than all my teachers put together through my whole school years. When she was young, of course, she was on a farm. But by the time she was 16, she had a high school diploma already. You know, they skipped her two grades, and her and her sisters, you know, she had 3 sisters and a brother. They were all extremely intelligent, and you know, they worked well together when they were kids, and when they were adults, they still did. It was the best example I ever had of anybody in my life. And a lot of the things that I talk about or do came right from my grandmother. Yeah. And you know, when she was my age, I thought she was pretty old, but I loved her anyway. And she knew exactly what she was talking about, even though she was that much older. I mean, older people have good sense sometimes. All right. Does anybody out there think that I really hate that guy? I know you don't like me that well because of the way I speak. You know, certain people don't like it if you say something up front, especially if it demeans them in some way. And I realize some people don't want to be looked at like a bully, but I just call it the way it is because some people have that tendency. I have to move that up. It's a darn thing, I don't know why, but that thing keeps running down. It gets down there and chops my head off. It's kind of like somebody probably does about now. Well, I've been on here 28 minutes, and it's probably time for me to start winding it down. So here we go. Successful YouTube starts from nothing and grows it into a very big channel. He's well known out there through YouTube land. People from around the world watch it. I know he would like to think that they watch it because of him himself, but they watch it because of the people that he hired. They are a magnet. So if you really want to get into a business or get something going, I mean, even though you may have the business head, if you really want to grow it quick, you have to get some magnets, good salesmen. Not, you know, and I might say salesman, but I mean saleswomen, salesmen, all of it. That's what you need. And you look to the audience you're after, and you feed them that feed. Now I'm going to say, if you watch the news today, people want to hear terrible things. It holds interest. If you can give them, you know, bloodthirsty stories and stuff, that holds their interest. If you got real good, nice stories, not so much. And it's changed from when I was a kid. You know, news used to say, hey, you know, this guy, he came to town and he had a wagon load of apples or whatever, and he pulled up and he gave them all out to the kids in town. Everybody out there got a bushel of apples. That would be commonplace. That happened a lot. People didn't want things to spoil, So they gave them to other people so that they could use them. That's what I like to see. Now, I know I'm just an old fuddy-duddy. You know, when I was a kid, and I lived right on the, I could see the city limit sign. It wasn't very far from our front door, but there used to be a guy coming down the road on Saturday nights singing, and he was driving a buckboard with horses. He had 2 horses, and he'd just be leaned way back, drunker than a skunk. The reins weren't in his hands. Those horses did it every week until he couldn't go into town anymore. But they knew their way home. I mean, they lived out west of where we lived out there, west of my grandfather, or great-grandfather rather. We knew it was always between 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night, Saturday night. He'd be on his way home. He'd had plenty of drink. He would come into town just a little after noon. You'd hear the clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. And it was a buckboard he used, a big one. A regular one that, farmers used back then. And, oh yeah, our town it looked like a horse's head with a ring in it. You could actually bring a horse into town and put the reins through the ring and go do your shopping, and the horse was fine out there. There was nothing against having it out there. With him, it was half the day. You can imagine some of the piles of horse apples out there around that horse. The park always had a band going. Can you imagine? I mean, I don't know too many towns that do things like that, but it was a real band. And you could listen to it from off and on from noon till like 8 o'clock or 8:30 at night, something like that, and then people kind of disbanded. There was a popcorn stand up there too. You could smell that popcorn for over a block. People would go up there and get that. There was stores, different corners, you could buy pop. There was a soda fountain right across the street there. Well, it would be north of the park, but right across the street. A soda fountain. Go in there and order anything you wanted. You can mix the flavors if you want to. It was great. It was a big store. Well, for me back then it was a big store. It was probably only about 6 aisles, and they were very short. Oh my, I get to think about all those things and how nice it was. But I hope I give you something nice to think about, and I hope I dispelled some of the stuff about me hating somebody, because I don't. I may disapprove of the way they do things. That's called disappointment. And there's a difference between disappointment and hate. And one of these days, I'll try to put it out there. My children did something wrong. I didn't hate them for it, but I was disappointed for a short period of time, and we straightened it out. That's how we did. Most parents get that way. Hopefully they never hate their children, but they have disappointments. It's a much lighter sentence, if you will, because you can work it out very easily without going to sleep mad and upset and losing sleep. I try not to send my kids to bed really upset with me, because all that does is make them hard to work with the next day. You might not get your yard mowed or the weeds pulled. You know how that goes. What else? I mean, that's it. If you want to know about more about it, let me know. I'll try to give it to you. Are there other people there around Jeremy that are just as good? Yes. Yes, there is. Matter of fact, he actually makes him look good. He makes him look great. It's a wonderful marriage, is what it is. And I use that term broadly. Yes, I know. His partner is his partner, but not necessarily the paperwork to go with it. No, they're not married, I don't think. But that's today in this world, half the people are divorced anyway, so maybe it just saves you having to spend money on a lawyer to go your own way someday. But I don't see that too much. They need each other too much, let's put it that way. Although, I'll have to admit, I think George could be all right on her own. I think she could handle business. I really do. I've seen her handle people in Otter Creek without a problem. because she has that type of charisma, is what I mean. I'm not making, Don't get me wrong, I'm not making fun of her or any of the employees that work for Mr. Hales. They all have a place in his organization. They all are good hard workers, and they are charismatic from the minute you see them till the end of whatever video they're on. I mean, all I see is happiness around them. So, does anybody else see that? Let me know. Would you put those people and hire them if you were the boss? Would you? Well, that's great, because we think a lot alike, don't we? People make the business. The bosses have to take a secondary seat if they really want to be successful. Sometimes the bosses shouldn't even be seen, because quite frankly, most of them don't have the heart it takes to deal with customers. They just don't. You can't bully your way through life, but you can certainly hire the right people to make you look good. Okay. With that, I'm going to let you go. Hope you enjoyed my show today. There's plenty of comments. Hope you don't run off. I mean, I've run off a lot of you because you think I hate somebody that I don't. And no, I don't want you back if you ran off. It's no big deal. This thing ran fine before I had all these extra people on there. Some of them just don't want to hear an opinion. And I still believe that everybody has an opinion and they should be able to voice it. And without nitpicking somebody apart. Don't you think that? I hope so. If you do, well then you're welcome to come on back. If you just want to listen, that's fine. Just don't act like a 6-year-old child when you come back home around here. After all, we're supposed to be adults, right? Okay. If you think there's something else that made this successful, you let me know. In all these years I've been around, there might be something I missed. Adios for today. See you later.